You ever have a team you bandwagon when your team has a season of hell? I'm a Browns fan, for example. Once in a while, they can be really good. Most of the time, they're not. And I have to find a temporary team to root for to save my enjoyment of the sport. One of those teams was the Cam Newton-led Carolina Panthers of the 2010s. This team had everything a bandwagoner could ask for. Style, big names, chaos, and crazy highlight reels. No coincidence, that describes Cam himself. So let's expose the Superman insignia and discuss the Cam Newton Carolina Panthers, who, for a moment, were the NFL's coolest team. In college, Cam was casually the backup for Florida Gators superstar Tim Tebow. Yes, Florida had maybe the greatest QB room in college football history just sitting in their laps. Speaking of sitting in laps, Newton's time in Sunshine was up after an arrest for a stolen laptop. College kids, right? So he transferred over to Blinn, a junior college in Texas whose football program won 3 Division I titles. Naturally, Cam led them to their 4th in 2009. He then signed with the Auburn Tigers in 2010, immediately won the starting job, and posted what's considered the greatest season a college quarterback has ever had. Throwing for 30 touchdowns and rushing for 22. Every FBS award you could think of, Heisman, Maxwell, All-American, Cam Newton won it. Those Tigers also won the College Football National Championship, an impressive feat when you consider Cam was the only player on that offense to take a single NFL snap. With the 2010 Carolina Panthers making a statement of their own by going 2-14, they had the privilege of selecting a one-man machine when they took Newton first overall in the 2011 draft. We've seen quarterbacks of big arms, we've seen quarterbacks who can run, but we hadn't seen a quarterback combine the two in the way Cam did. Poise in the pocket, a rifle that could create passing lanes out of thin air, and a rare combination of size, strength, and speed that made him a game changer on the ground. Under Cam and rookie head coach Ron Rivera, the Panthers' offense started out hot in their first 2 games of 2011. Were these wins? No, but Newton was taking over the NFL as soon as he landed, throwing for 400 yards in both of his first 2 professional games. See these 400-yard games of passing? Those are the only 2 of Cam Newton's entire NFL career. But make no mistake, his rookie season was just pure fun. He led the league in rushing yards per attempt. He was the first rookie quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards, the second ever quarterback to throw for 20 touchdowns and run for 10 in a season, and, oh yeah, 14 rushing touchdowns, setting an NFL record for a quarterback in a single season that would last for 12 years. Obviously, he won Offensive Rookie of the Year, and he was also the biggest face on one of the most stacked backfields ever. Cam, along with D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, made the 2011 Panthers the first team with 3 700-yard rushers, and all 3 players rushed for at least 5 yards per attempt. That's not normal, and they were also paired with a 1,300-yard season from legendary Panthers receiver Steve Smith Sr. So the Panthers had a generational quarterback fall in their laps and lead one of the league's best offenses, yet only mustered a 6-10 season because the yin and yang fates of the universe paired them with one of the league's less inspired defenses. Fortunately, the Panthers were hell-bent on fixing that in the 2012 draft, choosing the defensive version of Cam Newton and Boston College linebacker Luke Kuechly. Kuechly will win Defensive Rookie of the Year, and beyond that, he'll make the 2010s All-Decade team, so he'll likely find himself in the Hall of Fame very soon. With the face of the franchise on both sides of the ball and a snazzy new logo, the Panthers went into 2012 with high expectations. They took those expectations and threw them in the toilet, starting the season 1-6. Cam did have a solid season and once again rushed for over 700 yards, but his partners in crime in the backfield had less efficient seasons than before. He was seen as having a sophomore slump, but to be honest, he wasn't really. As a passer, his efficiency was around his rookie campaign, and in some cases it was actually better. As a runner, he produced even more yards and yards per attempt, so where's the sophomore slump? Well, it comes down to expectations. The Panthers team managed to climb out of the basement and fine dine upstairs with a 7-9 record, but there wasn't a playoff push that many at the time expected out of this football club. Both sides of the ball were pretty good in terms of yards produced and yards allowed. It's just that the points were harder to come by, and what makes their 18th ranked scoring offense more baffling is that they had the 8th highest red zone touchdown percentage on the season. Still, Steve Smith Sr. had another great season, and we saw the receiving breakout of star tight end Greg Olsen, a phenomenal pass catcher they traded for during Cam's rookie season. The talent is there on offense. We just got to get that and the defense clicking at the same time so that this Panthers team can truly start to be a playoff and Super Bowl contender. The problem is the 2013 season had something to say about that. They were 1-3 to start, and this era of Panthers football was beginning to look like a lost cause. Cam was playing less efficient than in seasons before, and Ron Rivera, viciously fighting the hot seat, apparently had no answers as to how he could improve the team. With his job on the line, Rivera, a notably risk-averse head coach, made an effort to suddenly spam the fourth down button. If you can believe it, that provides the spark the Panthers need. After throwing 0 touchdowns and 3 picks the previous week, Cam threw for 3 touchdowns and 0 picks this week, also rushing for a score in a blowout win over Minnesota. The Panthers won again in Week 7, again in Week 8, again in Week 9, and again in Week 10 against an outstanding 49ers team. That set up a Monday night game for the ages at home between the 6-3 Panthers and the 7-2 Patriots. Midway through the third quarter, we had a 10-10 tie ball game when the Panthers were facing a critical 3rd and 7 at their own 37. Cam escapes a sack. Great, he'll be sacked here. Nope. Another nope. He turns 3 chances at sacks into one of the greatest runs from any quarterback ever, a 14-yard first down pickup. A little later, Cam ends the same drive with a touchdown to Olsen on 3rd and short to give Carolina the lead. Some time passes, some drives do as well, and with 6.5 left in regulation, the Panthers get the ball down 20-17. In their first 2 seasons, the Panthers had a problem with closing out games and winning close ones in general. A successful drive here could show everyone the tide was really beginning to change for this franchise and their star quarterback. And Newton was a 3rd down machine on this drive. 3rd down, 15-yard scramble. 3rd down, 3-yard run. 3rd down, defensive holding. A few plays later from the Patriots' 25, Cam completes the pass to the speedy Ted Ginn Jr. on the comeback route, and Ginn goes and runs for what will be the game-winning touchdown in the biggest win of Cam's professional career to date. The final drive from the Patriots ended in controversy, but this Panthers team was turning a new leaf for good. We got 2 more wins after this before they finally lost another game in a divisional blowout to the Saints. The week after that, the Panthers went back and won again, then faced the Saints at home in a Week 16 duel that would see the winner take the NFC South title. What's important about the Carolina Panthers is they have 2 quarterbacks, one on offense and one on defense. On defense, Luke Kuechly tied the single-game record for tackles with 24 in a performance that pushed him over the top and helped him win Defensive Player of the Year. On offense, Cam was pretty pedestrian until the final drive. 55 seconds left, no timeouts, down 13-10. Newton responds on the first play by precisely firing a missile to Ted Ginn amongst a sea of Saints for 37, then 14 on another fastball to Olsen. One spike ball later, Newton sheds off a sack like it was shrapnel and tosses a speedy bullet to Dominique Hickson to secure the win, a playoff spot, and first place in the NFC South. The Panthers completely secure the division title for good in Week 17, with the tight win over the Falcons also landing them a first-round bye for the NFC second seed. On paper, this is a Panthers team carried by their absurd defense. In a lot of ways, they were. On top of Kuechly, they had an all-pro season from pass rusher our career year from pass rusher Charles Johnson, and a league-leading 60 sacks. As for Cam, numbers-wise, this was a little weaker than 2011 and 2012, but he's unique in that he's one of those guys you just have to watch to become a believer. It's sort of like how older NFL fans swear that John Elway was a Super Saiyan quarterback, even if the numbers didn't always back that up. The Panthers also improved in close games, helping Ron Rivera go from a coach on the hot seat to the Coach of the Year recipient. Things ended rather quickly in the divisional round against the 49ers, but no harm, no foul. Going from a 1-3 start to finishing 12-4 is something even the most delusional Panthers fans never saw coming, and their quarterback was again becoming something special. That's why 2014 will be a little frustrating. The Panthers started with 3 wins, 8 losses, and something they accomplished for the first time in franchise history, a tie. Off-season surgery caused Cam to miss training camp, and a rib injury in the preseason had him playing with a cartoon cast on. Of course, we can't talk about the 2014 Panthers without mentioning the Week 4 game at the Ravens. See, Steve Smith Sr. was controversially released in the offseason. conveniently signing with Baltimore to seek out a revenge game against his former team. Smith Sr. showed the Panthers exactly who they were missing by torching the defense for 7 catches, 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a Ravens cookout. He was kind enough to suggest the Panthers weren't even worthy of him trash-talking or showing off after catches. Don't worry, these two will smoothen things out years later. Point being, the 2014 Panthers suck. But what's great about the 2014 NFC South is it also sucks. No team in this division has more than 5 wins, so even the Bucs, who will pick first overall in the 2015 draft, have a shot at winning a participation trophy. The Bucs are also a team Cam never plays in 2014. His rib injury caused him to miss the season opener, and he'll miss the Week 15 game after sustaining an injury in a car accident, an accident where he's seen smiling while on the ground in clear pain, only Cam. Unbelievably, the Panthers won both of the Bucs games with backup Derek Anderson, a former Pro Bowler with the Browns. After the 3-8-1 start, the Panthers rallied to win their next 3 games, giving them the chance to secure the NFC South in Week 17 at Atlanta, which, by the way, is Cam's hometown. His Panthers can make some sort of statement with a win in a close game. We did not get a close game. We got, instead, a Panthers rout, 34-3. Cam had a very efficient day with 2 total touchdowns, and the defense generated 6 sacks and 2 pick-sixes. With the NFC South title in their hands and the distinction of being the division's best bad team, they became the second ever to make the playoffs with a losing record. And for the first time in team history, they made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. They play as host to a Cardinals team starting their 4th quarterback of the season, and unfortunately, this is the worst playoff game in existence. Making this slightly more tolerable is that Cam Newton earned his first career playoff win. You know how the NFL has been a thing since 1920? The Panthers held the Cardinals to 78 total yards of offense. That's the fewest in a playoff game ever. The Panthers moved on to the divisional round to face the Legion of Boom Seahawks, a team whose defense has had Cam's number and has prank-called him since the beginning. Bad news, the Panthers get walloped 31-17 as it's clear Cam has been playing with a low battery percentage. Good news, we got this cool shot of him staring down Seahawks players running out of the home tunnel. For context, he does this before every road game as a pre-game ritual. It wasn't just unique to this matchup despite what many believe. More good news, Cam gets to go in the offseason to finally rest and relax after a series of unfortunate events in 2014. He got 2 1,000-yard receivers in the form of Greg Olsen in his 3rd of 5 consecutive seasons with 800 yards or more, and rookie Calvin Benjamin. Though Benjamin's season came under fire because much of his production came in losses when the game was already wrapped up. Benjamin's next game will be in 2016. In training camp, he tore his ACL, leaving Cam without his top wide receiver for the entire season. Newton already wasn't playing with a pretty good cast of wide receivers. Now guys like me are going to get the opportunity to catch passes. Whatever record the Panthers finish with this season, everyone's counting them out as division winners. So how many wins do the 2015 Panthers finish with? 5? No. 4? No. 3? Nah. 2? Nope. The 2015 Panthers finished with 15 wins. Yep, this team wasn't even supposed to be good, and they put up what is to date the last 15-win season in NFL history. Let's start with the #1 scoring offense. Greg Olsen was outstanding yet again. Ted Ginn Jr. finished with over 700 yards and 10 touchdowns. Jonathan Stewart finally made a Pro Bowl, and All-Pro fullback Mike Tolbert bulldozed through to provide running lanes. The defense was again excellent too. The phenomenal linebacker duo of Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis both made first-team All-Pro. Pro Bowl defensive tackle Kawann Short led the team with 11 sacks. Safety Kirk Coleman had 7 interceptions, and the team's league-leading 39 takeaways earned them the nickname Thieves Avenue. But this defense's true star was All-Pro corner Josh Norman, as excellent at coverage as he is at trash talk. He got in the fight with Cam just before the season. Again, Cam is smiling in this photo as he's pummeling Norman. Norman swears he didn't lose this fight, but regardless who did, Josh, he credits his brief feud with Cam as helping the two get the best out of each other. Norman faced a gauntlet of star receivers and made them all look like NPCs, toddlers. Norman was getting into receivers' heads, most notably Odell Beckham Jr.'s. It was great. The two combined for 5 personal foul penalties and forced the NFL to implement a new ejection rule. Love it. Josh Norman's ascension from a 5th-round pick to the best corner in football coincided with all of this. And at the top of a Panthers team with 10 Pro Bowlers and 8 All-Pros was Cam Newton, that year's Offensive Player of the Year and the first black quarterback to solely win MVP. He was the second black quarterback to ever win the award after his idol Steve McNair in 2003. And Cam not only became the 8th player to win a Heisman in NFL MVP, but the first to do this since 1997. Despite playing with an island of misfit toys at receiver, Cam set a career high with 35 touchdowns and led the league in touchdown percentage, also becoming the first and only quarterback as of this writing to pass for 30 touchdowns and run for 10 in a single season. Cam also found himself in a very exclusive club, becoming the 5th ever quarterback to have at least 3 games with 5 touchdown passes in a season. There's so much we've already talked about with this Panthers team, and rightfully so. And above all else, they were a legitimate cultural phenomenon. Taking inspiration from legendary trap trio Migos, Cam Newton would celebrate in the end zone with the iconic dab move. While Migos invented the move, Newton has been credited with popularizing the dab. The dab is infectious. Even Rivera, who will win his 2nd Coach of the Year award in 3 seasons, does it himself. And the Panthers also dabbed their way to home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Their first opponent was a Seahawks team they finally beat in Week 6 off a memorable game-winning touchdown from Cam to Olsen. And here, they started off blazing hot, thanks to a pick-6 from Luke Kuechly that caused Panthers fans to deafen the environment. They didn't let up at any point in the first half, entering halftime up 31-0 with Jonathan Stewart reaching triple-digit rushing yards and 2 scores. Suddenly, the Seahawks scored 24 unanswered points with just over a minute left to play, but Carolina put an end to their rally by recovering an onside kick, moving on to the NFC Championship. There, they rematched against the Cardinals and 2nd-team All-Pro quarterback Carson Palmer, and it was a lights-out display on both sides of the ball. Cam was sensational, throwing for over 330 yards and combining for 4 total touchdowns. The defense forced 3 sacks and 7 turnovers, with 2 picks from Kurt Coleman and a pick-6 from Luke Kuechly. The game was never close at any point, and the 49-15 victory catapulted the Panthers to their 2nd Super Bowl appearance. They got to face the AFC champion Broncos, whose defense is considered one of the NFL's all-time greatest. Cam's thrilled that he gets to square off against Peyton Manning, but Manning at this point was playing with the gas meter on E, the worst starting quarterback that season. It was top offense against top defense, and though the Panthers' defense kept the Broncos' offense in check with 2 takeaways and 5 sacks, Denver's no-fly zone did the same with the Panthers, forcing 6 sacks and 3 takeaways. Cam was pushing through it, and with less than 5 minutes remaining, he had the chance to lead a game-winning touchdown drive and secure the Panthers' first ever Super Bowl win. He was strip-sacked by Von Miller in a Broncos fumble recovery. The lasting image from this game, and for some people Cam's season, was his refusal to dive for the ball. As the Broncos iced the game with one last touchdown, the MVP was under intense criticism for not pouncing on the football. Now, I want to take the time to play devil's advocate here. Yes, Cam himself will one day admit, yeah, I should have dove for the ball, that's gonna haunt me forever. But let's consider when other players tried to do this. Legendary All-Pro quarterback Drew Brees saw his Chargers career come to an end when he suffered a dislocated shoulder on the final game of the 2005 season, and the same situation in 2011 ended Bears receiver Johnny Knox's career and nearly left him paralyzed. Regardless, people didn't appreciate how Cam went from cocky and upbeat to a sore loser after the game. Though, again playing devil's advocate, I'd be pretty cranky after his Super Bowl loss too. For much of his career, Newton carries the stereotype of being a me-first player that says pretty outlandish things and is too cocky for his own good. But this is also the same guy that annually hosts Thanksgiving cookouts for underprivileged families, will order to-go meals for people in need, and gave a bag of food to a homeless man in Baltimore of all places. What was he doing there? Cam was also the one that started the NFL's unofficial tradition of giving footballs to kids after scoring touchdowns. So sure, in one respect he isn't perfect, but in another respect, he sure is human. 2015 was still an extremely fun team to watch. The masterpiece of execution on offense and defense, combined with a quarterback that transcended both the position and the sport to become a pop culture fixture, made the Carolina Panthers the coolest team in football, a team you could bandwagon and feel good about. They may have finished with a silver medal, but the entertainment they provided was as good as gold. Whew. We went through a lot that season, didn't we? We'll do it again in 2016. But for different reasons. The season opener was a rematch with the Broncos in Denver, a game that saw the return of Kelvin Benjamin and a quarterback in Cam that was getting repeatedly headhunted. Several times he had been taking helmet-to-helmet blows, those are usually penalties, and that was enforced just once. Despite ranking number 1 on the NFL's annual top 100 players list, he just wasn't getting the special treatment some of his peers would receive. But still, Newton played through it and pulled together an impressive drive at the end to set up a 50-yard field goal from Graham Gano, who at this stage has made more kicks from 50 yards than missed. That won't be the case here. The kick hooks wide left, and the Panthers fall short 21-20. They'll also finish with their worst record since 2011 at 6-10, closing the books on a season with loads of misfortune. Luke Kuechly played 10 games before suffering a concussion that I'm not going to show because his reaction is pretty frightening. The team's 27 giveaways were near the bottom of the barrel, and Cam barely completed over 50% of his passes where he again wasn't playing healthy and was playing with an even less efficient group of wide receivers. He'll also be benched for a drive during a game against the Seahawks for not wearing a tie on a team flight, which seems to be the most trivial reason to bench anyone ever. Ron Rivera's explanation? Well, it wasn't the first time he enforced this rule, but it's a pretty big deal when that rule is enforced on the reigning MVP. As for Cam's explanation, he didn't wear a tie because it didn't match his shirt. I'm just beginning to realize how much I've talked about Tiegate, so let's move on. One of the few bright spots on this team was Greg Olsen, who became the first tight end to post 3 consecutive seasons of 1,000 yards or more. This was a pretty big deal before Travis Kelce came in and made the record 7 straight seasons. But Olsen's excellence couldn't mask a so-so offense or defense that regressed when Josh Norman walked after the 2015 season. Thankfully, things are a lot less messy in 2017. The Panthers sought to reclaim the success they had in the backfield and used their 8th overall pick on game-changing Stanford back Christian McCaffrey. Equally excellent as a runner and as a pass catcher, McCaffrey will finish 2nd in receiving yards on this Panthers team. As for the rest of the offense, it'll struggle until the front office decides to trade Kelvin Benjamin to the Bills in a move that actually coincides with the team playing more explosive. A 4-3 start then led way to a 7-2 finish, with the 11-5 record again being enough to buy postseason tickets. On the surface, Newton's numbers don't seem all that impressive, but he combined for 4,000 yards and, again, looked far better than the stats would indicate. And this was with Greg Olsen missing the majority of the year. On the road in Week 4 against the defending champion Patriots, Cam threw for over 300 yards with 4 total touchdowns and led the game-winning drive in a thriller at Foxborough. He's even better the next week in another close win over the high-powered Lions offense. Against the Dolphins in Week 10, he threw 4 touchdowns and ran for 95 yards in a blowout win he made look easy. Against the league's top defense in the Vikings in Week 14, an absurd 62-yard run from a 6'5" quarterback weighing just under 250 pounds helped snap Minnesota's 8-game winning streak. But this season is most famous for the Week 15 win over the Packers. Cam again threw for 4 touchdowns, including one in the opening quarter to Christian McCaffrey, where outside linebacker Clay Matthews III called out a possible wheel route, prompting Cam to respond by telling him, "You've been watching film, huh? That's cool, watch this." The ensuing touchdown makes this one of the coolest moments from any player in any game, and the Panthers defense forced 4 takeaways to help cement a close win. This all sets up a wild card matchup at New Orleans, whose Saints swept the season series. Cam had gotten the Panthers to the doorstep of victory despite being briefly taken out earlier to be evaluated for a concussion. And his commendable efforts continue as he stays poised and throws this breadcrumb in a mouse hole to Kalen Clay at the sideline for a gain of 21. An intentional grounding penalty a few plays later sets up a 3rd and 23 from the Saints' 34. Cam gets the ball in the end zone in the area of Devin Funchess, who himself had a pretty solid season, but Funchess can't locate the ball perfectly. setting up a 4th down where Newton gets sacked for 17 yards by Von Bell, ending the Panthers season in heartbreaking fashion once more. But this is one of the better games of Cam's career considering the stakes and the injuries he was playing with, and he'll continue to build off this performance in 2018. The Panthers went 6-2 through the first 8 games of the season, and Newton was considered an MVP candidate as his efficiency was off the charts. McCaffrey effectively evolved into a Super Saiyan player, and the team drafted standout Maryland receiver DJ Moore to help boost the offense. As the puzzle piece to another Super Bowl contender was being built, it just as quickly fell apart. Some Panthers fans will claim Cam Newton's arm looked different after an injury he sustained late in 2016 in a game against the Chargers, but against the Steelers in Week 10, it was changed forever. A hit on a strip sack from All-Pro pass rusher TJ Watt crushed his throwing shoulder. He'd stay in the game, but after that hit, and for the rest of the season, it was obvious this was nowhere near the same QB. The Panthers won just 1 of their last 8 games to finish 7-9, and Newton sat out the final 2 games to heal his shoulder. Cam then tried a vegan diet in the offseason in an effort to help his athleticism as he reached the age of 30, but accidentally handed the vegan community an L by only lasting 2 games before suffering a Liz Frank injury. Behind backup QB Kyle Allen, the 0-2 Panthers rallied to win their next 4 games before losing 9 of their last 10 to finish 5-11. The offseason culminated in what looked to be a rebuilding team. Going into 2020, they fired Ron Rivera, cut Greg Olsen, saw Luke Kuechly retire at the age of 28, and, most of all, went into the season without the best quarterback to don the black, blue, and silver colors. Cam Newton was released on March 24, 2020, and his free agency lasted 2.5 months before he signed with a foe he had excelled against, the New England Patriots. As the first quarterback to follow in the shadows of Tom Brady following his departure to the Buccaneers, Newton didn't exactly set the world on fire, but he did have his 3rd season with at least 10 rushing touchdowns. Only one other quarterback, Jalen Hurts, has ever done that. Just before the 2021 season, Cam was cut in favor of Alabama's Mac Jones. It's alleged he was never the best mentor to the rookie, though Mac himself has stated this was not true. At the same time down in Charlotte, Carolina wasn't doing any better without Cam. Another 5-11 season followed in 2020. Then in 2021, after starting 3-0, they lost 5 of their next 6 games and sat at 4-5 through the halfway point. The replacements for Cam Newton included Teddy Bridgewater and Sam Darnold, quarterbacks that have found varying degrees of success before or after the Panthers' tenures, but in Carolina struggled significantly. They needed to find a worthy successor to Cam Newton if they wanted to keep their playoff hopes alive. Incredibly, they did. His name was Cam Newton. He didn't start in his first appearance of the season against the Cardinals, and he'll touch the ball just 7 times. But Cam will combine for 2 touchdowns in the 34-10 win, and as he himself proclaims after the first touchdown, "I'm back." It was a brief look at how things used to be. Cam started the next week in Carolina against the Washington football team and their coach, none other than Ron Rivera. Cam was outstanding, missing on just 6 of 27 passes while combining for 3 touchdowns. But it wasn't enough, as the Panthers fell 27-21. The Panthers won't win another game after this, and Cam, who had a touchdown run in each of his first 5 appearances on the season, will part ways with Carolina for a second time. But in a way, just seeing Cam play for the Panthers and getting one last ovation from Panthers fans before riding off the football field was worth everything for me as a longtime fan of his. He wasn't the same player he once was, but what a player he once was. Newton's personality outside the NFL, as it has been in the NFL, is polarizing. Whether you love him or hate him, I think we can all agree. What the f*** is he posting online? But he uses this on social media because it helps him stand out, like a Frank Sinatra, or a Beethoven as he puts it. In a similar way, Cam Newton's career has stood out. He finished with a grand total of 0 Super Bowl rings, but his career and the Panthers era that followed were just as exciting as any. His 75 career touchdown runs remain an NFL record, even if guys like Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts threaten to overtake it. On the flip side, I think Newton's been underrated as a passer. Detractors will cite his low completion percentage in these arguments, but I think it ignores the theme we've been exploring, that Cam is just one of those guys you have to see to believe. I saw Cam as a smart gunslinging pocket passer with unique throwing mechanics, one of the more accurate deep balls, and an aggressive mindset that was both calculated and rewarding. As we saw in 2015, when his receivers finally caught passes consistently, his passing numbers skyrocketed. As with any quarterback of his caliber, he holds tons of Panthers records, has the one over-the-top season that will eternally make him a household name in the NFL, and he had both the production and style that elevated him to superstar status. He's helped trailblaze the age of mobile scrambling quarterbacks we see today, but there can only be one Cam Newton. For those new to him, I encourage you to go on YouTube, look at his highlights, and enjoy the trip down the rabbit hole. His career was truly one of a kind, as were his Carolina Panthers. Hey, it's me again. Just wanted to thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. I have other videos besides this one, and if you have time, make sure you watch those videos as well. Once again, thank you for watching, and hey, I'll see you next time.